Stuart Jossamu, the 26-year-old man from Zimbabwe. Let's go straight back to Andrew Pearce.
Thanks, boys. Yeah, I'm really getting some of that rhythm. It's very, very catchy. Let's move on now. And in the red corner, please welcome the fifth.
I can tell you Gilbert was not only a fighter in the ring, he was also a fighter outside the ring. When a man is determined to do something else, he can do it at all costs. Gilbert was my young brother. He was 8th born in the family. And well, he grew up with his father and mother, and I took him up in 1972. I sent him to school up to the end of Standard 6. He was very stubborn. I used to pay school fees, but he never went to school. He was just a street fighter. Problems and problems, they would come one after another, one after another. I'd failed the young man. He just didn't want to go to school anymore. Well, Wafa Wafa is like you just go into the ring and start challenging. Anyone who wants me, challenge, you see. If anyone wants you, it's a free for all. If anyone wants to challenge, you can just go in the ring and fight you. If you lose, that's it. You go out. There's no money paid, nothing. That's the Wafa Wafa. And you are beaten like hell. But eventually people stopped challenging Gilbert because it was just too tough for them. When I arrived here, Gilbert was actually in prison. He was serving, I think, a 6 month stint for street fighting. But after that, he had completely changed. He said, "Brother, I'm going into boxing. Ephraim Masawi has told me to do that, and I'm going into boxing." Then Ephraim Masawi was the first person to sponsor Gilbert in boxing. He took him at Stodaro. That's where he started training boxing. From then onwards, he never looked back. I didn't think he was going to go very far. But to my surprise, he didn't even stay long in the amateur field. He had to go straight into professionals. You see, because there was no one who could stand him in the amateur. He beat everybody, every opponent. You see, so he had to go straight into professional. I think it took him about 3 months, that was all. He beat the Joe Makazas and quite a few guys that he beat before he faced Nelson Bosso of Bulawayo, who was then the national midweight champion. It wasn't like Gilbert was being offered a chance. He was the challenger. He challenged for that midweight post championship, you see. So we started preparing something like 4 months before. 3 days before the fight, he wasn't even training at all. He was relaxing at home. He used to come to my place here, would chat. He said, "I'm okay. I'm already prepared for the fight." I said, "Why don't you go to the gym?" He said, "No ways. I'm already ready for the guy." So he was just relaxed, going about, chatting with people, with friends in the neighborhood. I was there at Queens when he beat Nelson Boss. I was there. The whole family was there, in fact. The whole family was quite happy, pleased with that. We had a party thereafter at home until the following day. Gilbert was the new middleweight champion of Zimbabwe. Well, I thought the boy had a bright future indeed. He could challenge anyone in his weight class. And that was what was happening. He was challenged by several guys here in Mbare, Harare, Bulawayo, even in Gweru. But he won all the fights.
From there, we had no local market for Jossam. He had no equal. So we had to look abroad for competition for Jossam. And we did land a fight with then leading Commonwealth contender Chris Pyatt of the United Kingdom.
The situation is, you cannot go direct to World Middleweight Championship without going through the Commonwealth. We are a Commonwealth country, Zimbabwe, you see. Now you have got to beat everybody in the Commonwealth, then you'll be considered for a middleweight championship in the world.
We were overjoyed. There were rave previews about how Gilbert was going to fare in Europe, in UK, and we almost predicted that here's the chance for us. We're going to do it. It was all positive. Everybody was hooked on Gilbert, and we're all positive was going to do it.
He was aiming for big bucks. You know what I mean? If you went for the Commonwealth, you'd get good bucks, and from there, you'd go further. But when he was going to UK, where it's mandatory that one before he fights, he's got to go through medical tests. It was discovered that this is what had happened. Something called HIV. Then it was positive. He was so devastated. We were all devastated by that fact. But remember, in the 80s, very, very few people knew the repercussions of what the disease was all about. He was so afraid to fight with this disease, but however, he was going to do it simply because he wanted money. I said, well, you can go ahead and do it. That's your problem. But I won't advise you to do that. But if you want, you can go ahead. But for him to withdraw after he'd already signed a contract and the results of the medical test had come after the contract has been signed, it was practically impossible for him to withdraw. He knew it was the end of his career, but he had to fight on. What he wanted was to make a living.
When Jossam presented his results to us and to the board doctor then, there was nothing out of the world on the report.
He managed to organize some other results that read otherwise. Maybe that is the reason why he lost to Chris Pyatt, because of psychological effect, you know what I mean? I don't know, maybe. Then, all of a sudden, he went to Australia.
Carlisle Barry Michael until I realised it was part of it from Waters as the bell sounds now for the opening round. Troy Waters comes straight in and covers up. Just inviting the African to perhaps lead with the left hand.
4-4 and the mark early. He's going for an early knockout, is he doing?
Youth sometimes phone me, but mostly I used to phone. Yes, so we didn't talk much. How are you? How is the wife? How is the kid?
Oh, what a right hand. Like he's got...
He was in tip-top condition. That's what he was telling me. He was okay.
Would you please stand for the national anthem of Zimbabwe?
When Gilbert came back from Australia, I think around 1990, he would come back, return to Australia, come back. But I could see he wasn't the same old Gilbert I knew. He had lost a bit of weight, and I thought he wanted to fight in a lesser weight category. But I could see there was something troubling him.
Then when he came back to Australia, he was still firing, on all 4 cylinders. But then in the meantime, someone had come up from the amateur ranks in the form of Ambrose Mulilo. And Ambrose was itching for just some title,
It was a big highlight because I was going to fight a national champion who was based out of the country. So it was well organized by the local promoters.
Whenever 2 good fighters met, you always have the makings of a classic. So there was this feverish expectation, and the whole of Harare emptied their pockets to get into the stadium in Lochinvar. So it was this electrical atmosphere around the venue.
I know that Josam was a good boxer and he gained a lot of experience by his international touring in professional. But to my side, I gained those international experience through amateur. So I said, we are one, but we are differently because we're going to fight for 12 rounds. I was encouraged by one of the good boxers who was Nelson Bosso, whom Josam beated. He told me that, Ambrose, you are meeting a good boxer. Gilbert is a good boxer. He can move, he can do it. From there, I took his words that, okay, I'm meeting someone who's good, but I'm better than him.
We thought he was just going to win an easy game. Ambrose was a tough guy as well. But Gilbert was ahead on points when they were in the ring. He was far ahead on points.
I stopped Josam in round 3. By the time I stopped him, the guy was turning his head, showing that he's scared to fight me.
If he had wanted to continue without the cut, he would have won the game. But because of the cut, I think it was a clash of the heads. That was the problem.
He was telling the referee that, oh, referee, stop the fight, stop the fight.
Then Ambrose came beating him. Ambrose did not know what was the problem with Gilbert that time. Gilbert knew he could not surrender just like that. He just went into the ring just to be beaten.
He was having a big swelling on his forehead. By that, he was not telling his head that, no, referee, stop the fight, showing that he's coward.
Because of the bleeding, he had with the cut he had, so the bleeding. He knew the blood because he had already been told that was the main cause of transmitting the disease from one to another, blood, you see. So he thought the best thing is to give up fighting. So he gave up. He just came home, slept. Let me forget about it, that's what he said. Yeah. That was the last game. He said he was not going to box anymore. He started training the young boys from then onwards. It wasn't until after some 4 or 5 years that he started coughing heavily. I said, I think these are the symptoms. He said, yes, they were the symptoms. It was non-stop coughing throughout the night. Oh, he took it as it was coming. There was nothing he could do about it. He told me, well, this is it. I'm in the same boat, and I'm going to go the same way. He told me. There's nothing we can do about it. I answered him that. He knew that was definitely going to come to him, sooner or later. But it was very, very painful to him, very painful.
You wanted to talk to me about something personal, and would I be willing to come and do an interview? And I said, great, I'll come and do it. I kept on postponing. I didn't go. I kept on postponing. Eventually, he phoned on a Monday, and I wasn't working, and he left a message that I should come and talk to him.
He bought me, I think, 3 pints of beer. Then, as I was drinking the 3rd beer, that's when he said, look, I'm going to the press tomorrow. I've actually invited Phil Magwaza to come home so I can spill the beans. This is what is with me. That's what he did. I said, oh, go ahead. I said, you didn't have to buy me the beers to tell me all that.
My name is Gilbert Josam, and I was born here in Harare in 1958. And I always liked boxing, and I started boxing in Malawi in 1972. I was still a young boy. I had quite a few amateur fights there. And then I came back to Zimbabwe. Then by 1981, I turned professional. See, after turning professional, I had quite a few fights, which until the British and the Commonwealth Boxing Board, rated me the #1 contender for the Commonwealth Championship. And for me to go there, that was in 1966, I had to be tested for the HIV. So when I went to be tested for HIV in 1986 in July, I tested positive.
I got excited also. It was the first time that a sportsman in this country, high-profile sportsman, somebody who was a whisker from being a Commonwealth champion, revealing, bearing his soul out, that he was HIV positive.
When I tested, in fact, when I thought of going to get my results, I never thought the results can be that disappointing. But when I got them, this is what I was told by the doctor, but I was so fit, and I never thought it can be like that. But it just happened. And this means, AIDS is with no eyes. It can attack anybody, a reporter, a minister, or whoever it is.
So he then said to me, see, I've been holding on to this secret for a long time, and I felt I should come out in the open and talk about it. I've been living with the disease. I was shattered also, and I said, for how long? That is the first thing I asked him. He said, for the last 14 years.
So I felt fooled in so many ways. And there was so much anger initial anger in my heart. I said, hey, how can this guy do this to me after all that I've done for him,
Even to my gym mates, they put a question mark, whatever you are doing. Do you know the atmosphere of the people? That, okay, we had seen your friend. My friend, he said that he was HIV positive. What about you, Ambrose? By that saying, it just discouraged me. It discouraged anyone that maybe I'm now HIV positive. Why did he do that? Maybe it's given me AIDS.
It was a man's decision. It was a real man who had courage, to reveal that kind of information. I can tell you there are even top brass members in the government who are positive, HIV positive. They cannot come out clean like what he did. And being a sportsman, Gilbert, he had all the duties to tell the nation that is what I am. In case tomorrow, people must be aware of this thing. Be careful. This is what is happening in the world today.
I say to him also, Gilbert, but you posed a grave danger to people in the ring. You should apologize also. No apologies are not enough, but hopefully nobody got infected during your fighting days. There was a bit of blood spilled here and there, and it was dangerous to the people that you're fighting against. And probably somebody who's humane, you need to say, I'm sorry.
The people were very much afraid to say it out, that they were positive. Even though they were told in the clinics or doctors and wherever, they were very, very much afraid. Gilbert had the stamina to tell them to come out clean in the open. And that's what he was doing in the community. And then he formed his support group called Shingai.
He was one guy who still wanted to go into the ring, fight against the disease. And just like how he was doing it in the ring, he wanted the world to know that yes, he had contracted the disease. But there was still some fight in him. There's still some life in him. And he wanted the world to fight along with him, cheer him on, just like people used to do when he was in the ring.
A week before he died, he came out in the Herald on the front page. He was sleeping outside the house, the blanket. He was explaining to people this is what people are doing in the community, relegating their own relatives simply because they are HIV positive. He was sleeping on the lawn outside. They're being relegated out. Please don't do that.
But at the end of it, so much good came out of Jesam coming in the open. He set an example for everybody, not only for people in the boxing or fraternity, but in other areas of sport as well, and perhaps in high places. If one guy can be seen to be showing an example, anyone who believed in Jesam took a lesson or took a leaf from what happened.
The first day that he died, I'd met him, I think in Mbare at OK on a Sunday. When I saw him, I could see he was ill now, and he was walking. So I said to him, but Gilbert, you need to regain your strength. sit down and recuperate well. But being the boxer that he was, he felt he had to come out, walk, meet the people. He didn't want to live in a cocoon. He didn't want to live in a shell. He wanted to come out, meet the people, show the people that, yes, I have the disease. But it's just like what he said in the article. One other disease, just like cancer, but only that is incurable.
He was never afraid. He said, if it's death, let it come. There's nothing I'm afraid of anymore.
He wanted the world to know. He had a message out there. He wanted to transmit something to the people that he was dying, but he still wanted the people to know that in dying, he was dying with bravery. He was dying with the courage that had propelled him to reach the heights that he did in the ring. He had a different streak. He had an inborn fighting spirit.
Giro semunhu wekuti anga ari professional boxer and semunhu akakurira mbare munomu and ainyanya kuzivikanwa navanhu vakawanda. Paakabuda pachena kuti arorwara neutachiwana hazvina kunyanya kunetsa nokuti vamwe vanhu vaiwanda vaiva vakazokwanisa kuti kubuda pachena.
Kana ukanzi HIV positive kana ukanzi chi hakuswera kuti at the end of the world, you can still go on, otherwise kana 20 years kana chichi ndikati kuti zvingaitika zvikanzi hazvinoitika stereke, but kana uchiteera zvane ndichitaura I think zvinoitika. Kanoza kuti inini ndinofunga I'm about kana kuti 14 years HIV positive, but do you believe it?
Mabasa akaitwa namukoma Gilbert, mabasa akawanda avakaita nekuti vakakansela nevanhu vakawanda vanga vasingaziva kuti kune chirwere ichochi HIV.